Alright, hello everyone. Sorry it's been a while since the last part in this series, even though I did promise its return. The last part was over a month ago, and that's because I went on holiday, and I made some other good videos in that time, which just kind of took up more time. Anyway, we're back, so I will continue to make these again as usual. I do just have a couple things to cover first. Obviously, I'm not going to go over how the series works again, as everyone knows, but I will just say the weekly challenge will return next time I make one of these videos. I have some really good ideas, I just don't really have the time to set them up yet, so watch out for that in the future. And the second one being, the first one we're going to cover today actually comes from Reddit. So I really don't interact much with the TF2 community outside of my Discord server and YouTube. It's out of no pride thing or anything like that, no. It's just I don't really have the time. I'm just usually busy doing other things. But I like the TF2 community a lot. And I don't have Reddit, yet one of my eyes brought this to my attention. There's apparently a subreddit where people make custom weapon ideas. And someone made one and said, can someone send this to Lon'qudor? So I just thought, sure, why not? I'll cover this one first. But may I say, user Gordon Unchained Gent, you've given me quite a handful to discuss here. So the baby back ribs is a lunchbox item for the heavy, and you start out with 23 ribs, and you can basically mash the left mouse button to eat several ribs at a time. Each rib heals 15 points, and they can overheal to 360. And you can right click to toss a medium health kit at the cost of 8 ribs. Reloading adds 1 rib from hand to reserve after 1 second with no activity if the rib is sent back to the reserve. Okay, so I'm basically just going to explain this one as I feel it's a little bit easy using simpler terms. So the idea is, these aren't like barbecue ribs, these are actual heavy ribs. And you can tear out heavy's ribs, you can hold a bunch of them at the same time, and if you hold too many of them for too long they get sent back. And tearing out the rib deals 20 damage to the heavy, yet eating them heals 15. So you can eat a bunch of them, apparently, even though technically it would still be a net loss of health. But the idea is that throwing this would still be a medium health kit, so it would still be a really good healing tool for your team. And may I just say, Gordon, whatever you were drinking when you made this idea, I'd very much like some. So it's a cool idea. It's the idea that you're playing with the heavy's health in exchange for slightly long-termer healing. And long-termer? I don't think that's a word. And also healing for your team. It is a cool idea to be able to basically reload the lunchbox items into your main hand with a small amount of reserve ammo. But then at the same time, not having them replenished by the locker is a really big bug. By bug, I mean a really big bad thing. I'm going to put this idea in potential. I don't really think the idea... I think the idea can work, but I don't think the execution works. But thank you very much for letting me know about this. I had one of my friends send me this, and... well, yeah, thank you very much. I'm more than happy to cover weapons from this subreddit in the future. So if you're watching this and you'd like to submit some to this subreddit, just mention the name Lon'qudor at some point and I'll get one of my mods to show it to me. Alright, so the next item we have is the Tallador Del Dictador, and it's another spy knife. And I believe this guy has already submitted a spy knife before because it has a similar mechanic. So this knife has an extra 25 max health on the spy, bumping him up to 150, which is a very good health range to be in. And an extra 60% damage boost just on normal stabs. And then backstabs mark the enemy for death, and this comes at the cost of backstabs cannot insta-kill. So, like I said, I think this guy submitted weapons before, specifically spy knives with the same downside. And I said before, and I've said again, and I'm very sorry, please don't take offense, a spy knife that does not insta-kill the opponent from a backstab is utterly useless, regardless of how big a boon it gives. Unless it gives the spy, like, 300 health. For example, even then I still don't think it would be a good idea. Spy's whole thing is picking off key targets, and removing that upside from the knives basically removes his whole thing, and you'd have to find another way to play spy. This would, for example, be good for like a gun spy, because the extra passive health, maybe that's what it was designed for, but we can't really design things around gun spy because gun spy is not viable as is. Look, I'm very sorry, okay, but any spy knife that doesn't insta-kill on a backstab is in need of a complete and utter rework. That is Spy's whole thing, and if you remove that, you'd have to give him another thing. And marking someone for death is not as strong as insta-killing them. Okay, so this next weapon might be the single most interesting thing I've ever covered, and I'm not joking. This is the Juggernaut's barrier, and basically what it is, it's a shield for the heavy that replaces his primary. So it can absorb up to 250 damage, and does not need to be deployed whatsoever. It is constantly active as long as you have the weapon equipped. And so this is basically like a fat scout shield. This comes at the cost of a minus 20% healing from all healers, minus 33% max overheal, and you can't use the Fists of Steel with it, thank goodness. This is a very interesting weapon, and this is clearly designed to be a Fat Scout weapon. Now the Fat Scout is a subclass that desperately needs some viability, much like Gun Spy. Yet at the same time, you are replacing your minigun, one of the highest damaging output weapons in the entire game. And to give that up, you're going to need something pretty huge. And I don't necessarily think this is pretty huge, but absorbing 250 damage is nice, but at the same time, really isn't as much as you think it is. That's only 3 pipes from a demo man, it's only 4 rockets from a soldier, and, well, a heavy's continuous fire could melt that down pretty quickly. But this is just such a cool idea. It's a very interesting one as well. A passive shield that's always active, a bit like the demo man's, except it just kind of blocks a flat number of damage instead of percentage-wises from different kinds of damages. Okay, well, it's going in 2 week for now. So, maybe just week. It's a cool idea, right? It's a really, really cool idea, and I really do think it could work under certain scenarios. But I just don't think it's worth giving up the minigun for now for any subclass. Alright, so this next one is called the Boston Bonsai Cutter. And when you're holding this weapon, Alt Fire will give you a speed boost and your melee mini crits for 5 seconds, and you will get the bonk effect for 0.3 seconds. And then you can't hold your melee weapon for 20 seconds after this effect wears off. And then you also gain an extra 50 max health when holding the weapon. This comes at the cost of a minus 15 health when equipped, minus 62 primary ammo, and minus 33 secondary ammo or recharge rate. Where do I begin? Okay, so this is obviously a melee scout focused subclass kind of designed weapon. And I do think we've had several subclass focused weapons today, and I do think you can design a weapon purely around a subclass, like for example Trollja or the Rocket Jumper, you know, the Market Gardener. I really do think you can design a weapon purely around a subclass, however this is 100% not how to do it. So you can't hold your melee weapon for 20 seconds after the effect wears off, which is only 5 seconds long, and then you have to deal with your primary and secondary having less ammo and recharge rates. Please, whoever made this, what were you thinking? So I promise the intention of this series is not to roast or make fun of my viewers, but I genuinely think this might be the worst design submission we've ever had. I'm really sorry to whoever made this weapon. With some fine tweaking, I think a melee-focused scout subclass would be great. This is not how to do it. Remember when I wasn't making this series? Yeah, I enjoyed that. Anyway, let's keep going. So this next one is called the Clash's Clash, and this weapon is an extra 75% accurate on the normal miniguns, and it's lightweight, meaning when you're revved up you don't gain as big a speed penalty. Yet at the same time, the alt fire doesn't rev up the gun, and it zooms in instead. And whilst zoomed in, headshots mini crits on hit. This comes at the cost of a minus 15% damage penalty, minus 15% slower firing speed, accuracy lowers with consistent fire, and then it fires 50 round mags that need to be reloaded and no random crits. Okay. Ooh. Alright then. Let me say what I do like about this weapon first. I like the idea of having a minigun that has to reload. I do think that could be done well. I really, really do. I think if implemented properly, that could be done well. Like, for example, I'd take a minigun with extra ammo, but the caveat is maybe you have to reload every 150 ammo. I don't know. Now, what I don't like about this weapon is pretty much everything else. So the lightweight idea is cool, yet at the same time it means you can't be revved up and just normally looking around. When you are revved up, you are constantly zooming. That is technically a downside, depending on how you slice it. Mini crits on headshots, an extra 75% accurate. If this thing were 100% accurate, that would mean every single shot would be over the crosshair and there'll be no spread on this weapon whatsoever. That's not a massively good thing for a heavy. Well, I mean, it kind of is. Okay, so a little bit extra accuracy is enough to make the Tomislav a viable contender to the stock alone. Yet, too much accuracy, I don't really know. It would kind of lose Heavy's power and he'd become more of a pick, really. I know that's up for debate, and I know someone will disagree with me that in the comments, but I think Heavy's general ability to spread damage fairly evenly is what makes him such a fantastic power class. But if he could only really fire at one target at a time properly, then he would fill a more power pick role, and that's not what Heavy needs. Mini crits on headshot, I'm not even going to touch that. Now, the only other thing I'd like to mention is the lightweight thing. I think this is a fantastic idea, and I do think we could make a minigun with a lightweight rev up. I think that's a really good idea. I don't think this is how to do it, though. I flamed the Boston Bonsai for maybe being the worst weapon we'd ever had. This is a genuine contender. And before anyone asks, yes, this is a primary. I know I've got that wrong in the past, but this is a primary because it has the ability to rev up. Shotguns do not have the ability to rev up. this genuinely might be a contender. So, like, if it weren't in needs rework, it'd be too strong, because if this were added, this would be the strongest weapon in the entire game. But then at the same time, it would also be the worst, because continuous fire would decrease your accuracy. But then at the same time, it would also be the best, because that's an extra 75% accuracy you have to work with. Okay. Yeah, that's going to need to rework. And I'm not touching it anymore. I'm really sorry. Let me first say before I continue that I do not deliberately pick bad weapons. These are the weapons that have made it through the strict filtering that we have for this channel. These are the ones that made it through. Imagine the ones that didn't. And we have had some episodes where the weapons have been great. The final part of this series before I initially stopped it had the best overall weapons just ever. And the last one had some pretty good ones too. Most of the weapons, however, that made it through this time are very, very poorly designed. And I'm really, really sorry if that upsets you to hear and that you're upset that I've, called your weapon bad or whatnot. But at the same time, if you're going to submit these weapons, you understand I'm going to review them, and they are going to need to be at least semi-good. So, anyway, I say all this because I really like the next one that we've got. This is the Slavic Sugar High, and when you eat it, you gain a 20% speed boost for 10 seconds, and you can alt fire to share the cookie with a friend and give them a 10% speed boost for 5 seconds. This is cool, and I really, really like this. There is one thing, however, it does not heal you. I feel this should at least heal 100 health. Maybe even 50, but just entirely depending on how long the recharge is for this thing, because the recharge rate isn't specified. If this recharge is relatively quick, this could be a viable contender in terms of heavy lunchboxes. If the recharge is as long as the sandwich, then this weapon's probably not very great. But I really like the concept of this weapon, and this is why I do this series. I really like to see creative things like this. More cookie-based items, please. Okay, the next cookie-based item I'd like to see is something like scatgun related, like the soda popper, but for cookies. I don't know how that will work. Anyway, the channel reopens when I eventually cover the next 130-something weapon ideas, so hold on to that for a while. Post it on the subreddit. Post your cookie ideas on the subreddit, and I will get to them in the next video. Maybe we'll just have an entire video based on cookie ideas. Anyway, Slavic Sugar High. It's really close. It's really close to being balanced. It just doesn't heal, and I just don't know the recharge rate. If I knew those two factors, then yeah, but this is the best one we've had so far. Let's assume this has the same recharge rate as the banana for now, because that's in between the Delocus and the Savage, going in strong. Even if it doesn't heal, a 20% movement speed, and it's not percentage based, it's a flat movement speed, that's how TF2 works, for 10 seconds is really good. Okay, well, I'll tell you what, maybe I'll put it in weak. But yeah, I don't really know. I don't really know. Let me know down below what you think of this one. But I'm really happy to see something that's finally decent. Hope you guys like heavy B-roll, because that's basically all we've got today. Anyway, so this next weapon is the Russian Ranger. It has a 10% damage penalty, a minus 20% health penalty, minus 40% healing from medics and health kits with no overheal, and no random crits, and at the cost of a gains damage and firing speed with less health. Damage increases from 0 to 75%, attack speed increases from 0 to 50%. Okay. I don't know why you're giving this weapon a health penalty. That's not good. I don't know why you're giving this weapon a healing penalty. That's not good either. I know it's the basic idea that so you can't abuse it by having overheal or something, but that's very easily just avoidable. I really don't understand. I understand what the designer of this weapon was going for with these negatives, as hence to why they put them first, but this is not how you balance a health weapon. To balance a weapon that scales with health, you need more health. You do not need less health, and I find that interesting. But apart from that, I like the sheer concept of this. That's basically why it's here. I like the concept of it. But this execution is not it, Chief. So this weapon basically only made it onto the list because I like the idea of Heavy gaining damage bonuses the less health he has, considering how he has the largest health pool. However, in order for that to be effective, you need more health than you currently have, because Heavy just dies. So the idea has potential. As a reminder to anyone who doesn't know, this is what you're aiming for. Picture this a bit like a target, you're aiming for the middle, and everything else, and these are the miscellaneous tiers. If the idea has potential, but it needs reworking, it goes in here, and if the idea cannot exist in TF2, it goes in here. So, this idea has potential, but the execution just isn't really there. And we end on a minor high note as the final weapon here, the Moscow Mower, is literally just a leaf blower for the heavy, and I think that's really funny. It deals no damage, deals lots of knockback, it can, you know, extinguish teammates, all the kind of stuff, uses a battery system instead of ammo. It's just great. I don't really need to go into the stats of how this thing works because it's a leaf blower. What more do you want from me? Now, I picked this one for two reasons. One, because I love heavy, and we've had lots of heavy weapons in this video today. And two, being the user who submitted this, also submitted this graphic as well, basically explaining how it will work. If you want to submit graphics like this, you are more likely to get into the series, as this does a lot of the heavy lifting for me, and visual learning is the best kind of learning. So thank you very much to you, the swear word poster, for this idea, and I find it really funny that it came to him in his dream as well. As for my actual critiques on this, I'm tired. This is a leaf blower. I like leaf blowers. Enough said. I think this weapon's great. I'm just going to put it in needs to work, because obviously it couldn't exist in TF2, but I love it, and it's great, and I love it, and I love leaf blowers. Alright, that will do it for this episode. Thank you very much for watching this, whatever it was. I promise I will try to pick some slightly stronger concepts for the next video, but sometimes you just have to cover some weapons like this just to kind of show people that this is not what we're looking for in this series. What we're looking for is cool ideas with decent execution. Some of these are cool ideas, but very few of these had decent execution. I promise the weapons channel will reopen eventually once I've covered all the ones I've missed, as voted on by my viewers. If you want to submit any beforehand, however, I will be checking the subreddit from here on out. So I will leave a link to the subreddit down in the description below, and if you have any cool weapon ideas you want to submit on there, first get feedback from other people, because feedback is a very important thing, and then just mention my name in the comments or something, and then I can just search by my name and I'll show up and give my thoughts. I'm currently recording this on the 23rd, however, I believe before this video goes up, however, I should have finished my video talking about what's the best upside within the entirety of TF2, so if you want to go check that out, please do. There's also a link to that down in the description below. I think that's a really good video, and I think you might enjoy it. But apart from that, thank you very much everyone for watching, and I will see you later down. Peace out.